Okay. Hello and welcome to the third annual Sister Cities Conference presented by Global Cleveland and the Cleveland Public Library. This event is a celebration of strong partnerships Cleveland has created with our 23 sister cities and a roadmap for future collaboration. Global Cleveland understands that the key to strengthening our region is welcoming our world, and we are so grateful to be joined by international experts today to speak about fresh water. My name is Lisa Barno. I'm the Executive Director of the Cuyahoga County Mayors and City Managers Association, as well as the Suburban Water Council of Governments, and I am excited to welcome you to this panel discussion. Before we begin, I want to thank our sponsors for supporting this event. The sponsors for our 2021 Sister Cities Conference are Swedlock, Medical Mutual, Platform Brewery, Irish, The Lynx Inc., Corner 65, Us Together, and 12 Literary Arts. In addition, to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Global Cleveland, I am excited to announce that they have partnered with Italian Tours by Diana to send 2 lucky travelers to Cleveland's sister city, Vicenza, Italy. This 8-day Italian journey will introduce you to Vicenza, Venice, Florence, Rome, and beautiful destinations in between. Sign up to win at globalcleveland.org. Lastly, mark your calendars for our 2022 Sister City Conference to join us here in Cleveland for our hybrid event. The conference will be in person as well as streamed virtually the week of October 17, 2022. I will now introduce our moderator, Deb Janik. Deb is a Senior Vice President of Business Growth and Development at the Greater Cleveland Partnership and also serves as a board member for the Cleveland Water Alliance. Thank you so much for moderating the panel today, Deb, and I will now let you proceed.
Thanks, Lisa. It's wonderful to see you this morning, and many thanks to Global Cleveland for including me in this opportunity today to talk about fresh water and its impact on Cleveland, the world, and of course, as we talk about business attraction today. I am pleased and privileged to be joined today by Cleveland Commissioner of Water, Alex Margovich. Alex is a native Clevelander who began his career with the City of Cleveland in the Division of Water, which is the 10th largest water system in the country. He is a civil engineer and started with the city in 1985. After many roles, he was sworn in as Commissioner of Water in 2016. And was appointed Assistant Commissioner of Engineering as well back in 1995. He is an expert in the design and operation of large, complex water systems. He has significant insights into distributing system infrastructure issues. He took the lead in designing Cleveland's water geographical information system and hydraulic model systems. He is on the executive board of the Water Research Foundation and is also a member of AWWA, ASC, and NSPE. This takes me back a little bit as well, as I had the privilege of working with Alex for many years in my time at Cleveland City Hall. We are also excited to introduce to you today Daegu Kabata. Daegu currently works as a coordinator of sister cities between Cleveland and Bahir Dar, Ethiopia. He worked within city administration for more than a decade, holding multiple leadership roles, including planning, budgeting, and participation expert, resource mobilization, NGO monitoring, and evaluation officer. And he is a United Nations volunteer and mayoral advisor. Welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for being with us today to participate in the freshwater panel.
Thank you, Deb.
As we go through the panel discussion today, we are going to position several questions to our 2 panel participants and have a time for each of them to respond accordingly. We certainly will take questions from all of you as we get to the end of the discussion. I believe that can be submitted through your chat feature to Lisa and the folks at Global Cleveland. But let's kick this off. Alex, we'll start with you. We know that access to an abundance of fresh water with competitive costs and resource incentives is, of course, appealing as we think about growing our economies in Cleveland and the nation and across the world. But it isn't necessarily enough of an enticement for companies seeking relocations or expansions. There are many, many other issues as it relates to business attraction opportunities for large water users and waterborne industry companies. These could include logistics, customer proximity, coast-to-coast transportation, and more. In your opinion, what are the top 2 or 3 drivers, given your experience, that you feel the decision makers pursue when they're contemplating relocation or expansion of a business as it relates to water use?
Okay. Well, thank you, Deb, very much. And, it's interesting. I've seen studies done over the years that speak to this issue. And when they list the top factors that companies consider when considering relocation or staying. The ones at the top of the list, you mentioned a couple of them. Educated workforce, for example, oftentimes is important. Transportation, proximity to good transportation is important. What the local tax structure may be, and or the presence of incentives that may be offered. Again, all are important considerations, and historically, the presence of water, the presence of utilities in general, usually doesn't even make the cut, doesn't even make the list of considerations that companies consider to be important. It's as if it's almost, or at least historically, it's been understood that the utilities will be there. And if they're not, if drinking water doesn't exist where someone wants to build a factory, for example, the almost assumption is that the locality will do whatever it takes to provide water, for example. They'll run that 1.5-mile water main for $2 million to get water there in order to bring the company there. So again, it does not seem historically to have been a major factor, but we think that may be changing now. You know, we know out west, for example, of the United States, where lots of folks have wanted to go, to California, to Arizona, to New Mexico, for example, that there's tremendous stress going on right now with water availability. They're using terms like mega drought now. Lake Mead is at its lowest level in history. You know, you see the famous pictures with the bathtub ring, they call it, seeing how low that the water level is over there, out there. I keep thinking that it's like they're one big break or some failure away from causing some major disaster almost out there, or long-term water outage. And yet, when you listen to politicians and others out there, they still don't talk about, well, we got to slow down. We got to slow down growth. We got to resist bringing more people out there. The attitude generally has been, we'll figure it out. We'll kick the can down the road, but boy, come on out here and we'll make things good for you as a business to move to. I think there's a sense that perhaps that may start to shift somewhat. You do get some anecdotal stories of some places that are so short that simply have to say, we just can't allow to do any more expansion here, for example. We don't have the infrastructure to do it. We here in Cleveland are in a water-rich part of the world. 20% of the fresh water of the world is right outside my window in the Great Lakes. So we have a lot of water here. We're in the Rust Belt, though. We're in the area where folks have left for other reasons, as manufacturing has declined and has left. So one of our goals, and I know this is a major push with Cuyahoga County here, with the Cleveland to Water Alliance, as you spoke of, trying to market the advantages that water-rich regions like this part of the world has, and especially to perhaps industries that are maybe more water intensive. Food processors, for example, a canning company, something along those lines, that they consider coming here, for example, at least take a look. And it is, I think, it's the kind of issue I think that you have to be in it for the really long term. This is not the kind of thing that's going to happen in 2-3 years, even 5 years necessarily. This is the kind of thing that you have to look in 10 plus years probably to start to see significant changes in movement. And, you know, one of our goals, one of our missions here is to absolutely make sure that the infrastructure of the water delivery system is in good place, in a good position to be able to serve folks if and hopefully when they start to come back, that we'll be in position to be able to do those things. So that's kind of my thoughts on some of that, Deb.
Thank you, Alex. I'm going to pivot a little bit on some of your comments to Daegu as well. You know, I love your bio, Daegu, planning, budget, right? Those are my sweet spots in city service and government service. And as you think about the experiences that your community are going through in Ethiopia, talk to us a little bit about how you and your colleagues are tackling the challenge of maintaining, as Alex talked about, these somewhat forgotten invisible assets of infrastructure. Key to, of course, is access to fresh water, both for community and business growth and opportunity. Could you share with us some of the strategies that you and your colleagues have undertaken in your community in Ethiopia, as it relates to fresh water delivery, as well as leveraging it for business growth and attraction?
Degu, I think you're muted.
Yes, I cannot hear you, Degu. Let's try again. Could you try again? Okay, bear with us, folks, as we get through some of these technical challenges here.
Thank you. I think just at the bottom of your panel, you'll see the little microphone. Oh, he signed out.
We've lost him. All right, we're going to get him back in, folks. Bear with us. The world of Zoom, but he'll be back with us shortly. Alex, let's continue on before Degu gets a chance to sign back in. One of the things you mentioned, and your work familiar with the Cleveland Water Alliance, as I have the privilege of sitting on the board, talk to us a little bit about some of the technological advances and innovation advances that we can pursue around water and freshwater industry. How can that position Cleveland and communities across not just the United States, but the world on these technological innovations to drive a different approach to water industry and water-related growth opportunities?
Yeah, so there are a couple industries already here, notably who participate in the water sector. Connecticut and Moen Fawcett and a couple others who have been active and involved here with trying to advance water technologies. And I know that is a goal and a mission of the Cleveland Water Alliance to try and attract research into water issues here to the region. Have Cleveland be known. One of the things, for example, that they're doing is they're doing some competitions, if you will, enticing potential researchers to be involved. One of them that's active at the moment is regarding lead service lines. Cleveland is an old historic legacy system, if you will, with a lot of existing service lines that are lead. Now, quick to point out that we add chemical treatment, orthophosphate, that coats the lead lines, protects or prevents lead from getting into the actual drinking water. Nevertheless, there is more and more of a push to minimize and reduce the amount of lead that's in distribution systems. One of the big unknowns to a lot of water systems is they do not know exactly where the lead lines are and are not. Here in Cleveland, we have a little better idea based on historic records that we've known and some work that we've done, and yet many, many places have no idea where lead lines are. And if you are required or choose to remove lead lines, you can spend and waste an awful lot of money simply digging to try and determine where the lead line is. So Cleveland Water Alliance is sponsoring a competition now for researchers to come and try and locate and determine in a non-invasive way whether a lead line, whether a connection underground is made out of lead or out of copper or galvanized or some other material. We are working with the Cleveland Water Alliance we've installed a test bed at one of our sites. Mm-hmm. We have buried several water service connections of different material types, and the researchers will be invited to come in and test their products to see how successful they may be at detecting. So that is one of the areas, and if someone is successful, we like to joke that The first person out of the chute with that will probably be a billionaire right out of the chute. That's how big the demand for something like that could be, how game changer something like that could be. One of the other things that that we push and involve ourselves with research-wise has to do with a real-time understanding of what's going on in Lake Erie. We have done so much in the last 15 years or so on the science of Lake Erie. We like to say in the water business that there are three big things. If you oversimplify what we do, there are three big things water people worry about. One is your source water, which is Lake Erie. One is treatment, what we do with the plants to purify it, and then there's distribution, pushing it out where it needs to go. And here in Cleveland, for the longest time, we did not give a second thought to source. We had what we felt was an unlimited source out there of generally good, reliable quality, and yet those days are now gone. We do far more science now to try and understand the physics, the chemistry, the biology of what happens in Lake Erie, and it is incredibly complex. The more we learn, the more we understand. There's still more to know. There is hypoxia, if you will, the dead water, if you will, where water at the bottom of Lake Erie that becomes highly deoxygenated, causes some problems and issues and can be difficult to treat. If we can know in real time exactly what the degree of hypoxic water in Lake Erie is and give us advance warning before it gets to the treatment plant, that gives us a tremendous advantage in being able to deal with something like that treatment-wise. Similarly, we know what happened in Toledo, Ohio a number of years ago, where for 3 days, a couple 100,000 people had no water supply because of toxic chemicals that result from the growth of algae in Lake Erie. It's a major concern on Lake Erie, and there's all sorts of modeling that is done, but if you could put sensors out there in Lake Erie to determine in true real time what is going on in the lake and communicate that back, that would be great insight for us. I know Cleveland Water Alliance does these Erie hacks. They're in the midst of one right now. And a few years ago, one of the technologies that was being reviewed was relatively cheap and inexpensive, almost disposable sensors that you could put out into the lake, but provide you with great insight as to what's going on in Lake Erie. So those are some of the areas I'd say that are worthy of continued exploration and research.
No, that is terrific. And I think as we talk about innovation, and as you articulated, we are a multi-century system. And dare to say that the history would show that, in particular, Greater Cleveland Water has been an innovator since its inception in delivery. But as you articulate, the new opportunities to leverage innovation and technology to drive fresh, clean water and get ahead of challenges that can matriculate, it's so critically important, because we have to make sure that from a sustainability and environmental protection, we're leveraging that as much as we possibly can. We have Daegu back, and can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you so much for logging back in. Daegu, you had heard Alex articulate about what is appealing around business attraction opportunities. And my question to you before you had to log back in was, what are some of the methodologies that you and your colleagues are taking in your community and in Ethiopia around driving what I call the invisible assets of infrastructure and utilities, but most particularly water? What are some of the tactics that you folks are using to drive business sustainability and business attraction and growth opportunities as it relates to accessibility to water and water attraction opportunities?
Okay, thank you, Dave. I think in Ethiopia, water service is delivered by the government. In Ethiopia, there is no any private sector which deliver water service to the community. Almost all the government is annually allotted some amount of budget for water service. I think I was a minute ago, I was disconnected what was saying, but to tell a few words, in Ethiopia context, water service is supplied by fully by the government. Particularly in Bahir Dar right now, there is a huge shortage of water supply. The population of Bahir Dar is more than 900. Our infrastructure related with water service is not as such in a good situation. Due to this, there is a huge shortage of water in Bahir Dar.
And how are you folks, as you tackle those challenges? And again, our water system here in Cleveland is also government managed, government run through the City of Cleveland Division of Water. As you face the water shortage and water shortage supply, what kind of are you able to apply any new innovations or different approaches to how to tackle the shortage, how to manage those shortfalls as it relates to driving new methodologies or increased access throughout the community in any way, shape, or form? Or are you in a situation where you have to manage the supply as you have it to the best of your ability to provide as much accessibility to fresh water as possible?
I think in order to address shortage of water supply, the government of Ethiopia in general and the municipal city of Bahir Dar in particular is try to implement cost recovery system. So far, there was no any cost recovery system. Those administrative costs and capital costs was fully financed by government. However, this approach was not gone far. Due to this, there is an initiative to make water supply sustainable for the future. Among other strategies, cost sharing or cost recovery is one of them, and the other strategy is just widening other source of water for the community. But in Ethiopia context, we don't have any private sector that engaged in water service delivery.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think, Alex, as we think about what Degu is sharing with us and the challenges as the community in Bahir Dar drives sustainability, accessibility, and trying new innovations. We are sitting at the front door of 20% of the world's fresh water on the Great Lakes system. And in Cleveland, we talk about leveraging the water, again, both for business opportunities and business attraction, but also for talent attraction to the area, which you mentioned earlier. You've been working at the city for a long time, and as you've matured, your career has matured. How do you see the transition in Cleveland as it relates to leveraging water from a talent perspective in Cleveland and Greater Cleveland?
It's interesting. We have been working with some of the local universities, with Case Western, with Cleveland State, for example, some of the engineering programs there, to try and assist us actually with some real needs that we have. For example, one example is working with the robotics folks at Case Western Reserve to develop a pipe crawler, if you will, that can basically be a Roomba inside a pipe and attempt to try and clean it out, for example. So we're always looking for opportunities. We have a STEM program where we work with kids already in grade school level to try and encourage them to develop an interest in water industry. So we're trying to encourage folks to develop an interest in water issues here. Like I say, it's continuing to try and work at the research, if you will, here, and develops, as you say, some local talent here to be involved with us in looking at some of the big picture water issues that are around. And again, as you mentioned, the Cleveland Water Alliance and the HAC that tended to bring out a lot of local folks here, a lot of local college teams, for example, that have been involved with that. I think are the kinds of things that hopefully can develop some interest and hopefully gain some momentum here and start to build an innovation center here, if you will, around water.
Thank you, Alex. And Daegu, I was thinking about, as you shared with us, the challenges that you and the government are facing. And as you mentioned, you don't have any private supply or private investment in the water system. As you think about your relationship with Cleveland as a sister city and some of the work Alex is doing, how have you been able to leverage some of what you're learning as you engage with leadership here in Cleveland with Alex's team and others and around the world? How are you being able to leverage some of that information and bring it back as you continue to strive to drive more accessibility and more sustainability? And how important is it to be able to have these kinds of sessions? And we're so blessed in Cleveland with Global Cleveland to bring our sister cities around the globe together. How have you been able to successfully leverage those relationships as you continue to work to advance sustainability and accessibility in your community?
I think Cleveland, as I can see from the background, Cleveland is 10th largest water body in the US. Hopefully, I think Bahir Dar also. Bahir Dar is located near to Lake Tana. As you know, Lake Tana is the biggest lake in Africa, and it is the source of Blue Nile, right? It is the source of Blue Nile. Lake Tana is the source of Blue Nile. And it contributes 85% of the total share of the water. Recently, Lake Tana has faced numerous challenges. Among other, hygiene. I think I'm not sure I pronounce well. Hygiene. It is a weed. Mm-hmm. It is a bad weed that invade the Lake Tana. So I think for the future, I think we are looking from Cleveland to work together in the area of how to solve this bad weed, hygiene. Okay. It invades the Lake Tana. It affects the socio-economic development of the city. We are endowed with this majestic lake. However, we faced serious challenge. There is, in Lake Tana, there are about 40 tributaries. Uh-huh. And all 40 tributaries streamed down to Lake Tana. And there is a sedimentation problem. There is also that wetland is change it into agriculture area. So I think, Mr. Alex, it is a great honor, I think, to be with you. I think for the future, I think you will support us in different technical areas, especially the challenges we face right now when it comes to proper management of Lake Tana. So I think Cleveland will assist us in this area, in these issues, what we are facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Daegu. Alex, go ahead in response. For some reason, I'm not hearing you now, Alex. Daegu, can you hear him?
Yeah, how about now? Sorry.
There we go. Okay, you're set.
My bad. I was just going to jump in. I mean, what Daegu is pointing out, that's an issue of invasive species. You know, species that are not native to a certain location and then all of a sudden make their presence there. And oftentimes there may not be natural predators, at least for a while, and they can totally disrupt the ecosystem locally. Several years ago, many may remember when zebra mussel invaded the Great Lakes and caused a lot of damage and quite disruptive to us as well, and still remains a nuisance to us. In near Chicago, they're trying very hard to keep Asian carp out of the Great Lakes. It almost seems inevitable that somehow the efforts there may fail and they will get into the Great Lakes ecosystem then and move down, and who knows how disruptive that could be. It's almost a consequence, if you will, in some respects of more internationalism, if you will. You know, the zebra mussel got here through ballast water in big international tankers, you know, and strategies to deal with that, you know, I think is really a significant issue is a significant environmental issue that's out there that looks like we're going to have to be on constant vigilance about. And it sounds like Daegu has that kind of an issue that he's dealing with down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that it's what we know is the world has gotten to be such a smaller place on accessibility, and these challenges to our freshwater systems and freshwater access, they're not going away. And so how do we collectively work together across communities and across the globe to start to address them? We've all experienced different weather patterns, different storms, different floods, whether it's the Great Blackout or not. But what we know is through all of that and patience, that accessibility to fresh water is a must, because that is what sustains this globe. And so it's fascinating to listen to the two of you, countries apart, to be able to identify the same issues we face in Cleveland, though with a different species, we're facing in Ethiopia, we're facing across the globe. And it's this kind of coordination and opportunity to speak together and talk together that can drive solutions on a global basis. So clearly, you're right, Alex. Sometimes people assume it's just going to be there as a utility, regardless of what type you're discussing, be it electric or water or sewer or other. The reality is there are no guarantees, and in the blink of an eye or a problem with the grid, it can go away. And so these types of conversations are critical to the ongoing success, certainly of Cleveland, but across the country. We have a few minutes left. I do want to defer to Lisa if there are any questions coming in from participants. But I also want to give a minute or two to each of our panelists to give some closing remarks as to how they would like to see continued communication going forward with each other, leveraging Global Cleveland and the community that it's bringing together. Daegu, I'll start with you as it relates to this morning's panel. Thank you, but as for some closing remarks, how would you like to see this opportunity continue as far as communication and opportunities to work together going forward?
Thank you, Dave. I think it is a great opportunity to work with Ohio's Cleveland city. I think it has been a year ago we established this sister city partnership. So far, we were conducting different session from October from 5 months ago.
Okay.
So I think this is the final session of the meeting. So it is a big honor to work with Cleveland. For your information, I was prepared to present a small PowerPoint. However, the platform is not suitable to go forward. Anyway, I will send you both the presentation I just organized about opportunities, and my title was, for that matter, I was not, in fact, well prepared according to the schedule you just forwarded. I was just prepared in relation with Lake Tana, in relation with the problem we are facing. That is why I was not in a position to present that presentation. Anyway, we'll send you both with this email, and I am looking forward to work with Cleveland in different thematic area, not only in freshwater. Bahir Dar city administration is the capital city of Amara regional state. It is the seat of more than 900 population. Here we have a lot of urban agendas.
Okay.
We have a problem of infrastructure problem. We have green area problem. We have we are not good at how to manage solid waste and liquid waste management. So for the years to come, we will work together in this thematic area as well. For the time being, I am very happy to be with you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daegu. Alex, some closing remarks?
Yes, thank you. You know, some of the big water issues that we face are issues really all around the world. For example, PFAS, the quote unquote forever chemicals that come from Teflon and other related materials, and firefighting foam. This material is all around the world. It's in products that have been delivered around the world, and the United States and Congress here are working and struggling a little bit, frankly, on how best to deal with it. And there is so much research needed to be done on this. What are the health effects? What are the presence? What are effective technologies to deal with it? Cost-effective technologies. And I think global perspectives probably are helpful. You know, I think we could all benefit by gaining the insights of everybody around the world on some of these issues. So partnering with Daegu and other sister cities here to gain insights, I think would be helpful. Another issue that is just nascent out there, if you will, just at the beginning of being realized, is microplastics. These are tiny little fibers that fray off from clothing and all sorts of other materials, and basically they cover every water body in the world. You know, we don't know though what the health effects are. We don't know how much of this stuff may be problematic, and we certainly don't know how to get rid of it yet. You know, and like I say, it's been found everywhere in the world. So again, it would seem like these are kind of problems that would benefit from getting worldwide perspectives here. You know, and maybe some folks may have some helpful solutions maybe to some of these things that could help us gain some good answers to some of these issues. So yeah, I think Global Cleveland, or the Global Cleveland here, is a very good thing, and hopefully we can continue some of these partnerships and gain some more insights.
Thank you, Alex. Lisa, I'd like you to jump back in if we have any questions from our participants today for our two panelists.
I think that Rosarita or Elizabeth have the questions.
Do they have access to join us or share those potentially?
I think that we covered all of the questions that we have today. I just want to thank you all so much again. Thank you to Lisa for introducing. Thank you to Deb for moderating, and thank you so much to Alex and Degu for joining us today and sharing your expertise.
Well, thank you for having me, gentlemen. It has been an absolute pleasure. And of course, as this continues, if there is anything in my role at the Greater Cleveland Partnership or with our team as we continue our work together with the city, the Cleveland Water Alliance, and Global Cleveland, please know we are here as a resource for both of you and, of course, for our partners at Global Cleveland. Thank you, everyone who joined us this morning, and thank you again to our sponsors, Swagelok Medical Mutual, Platform Brewery, iIrish, The Links, Corner 65, US Together, and 12 Literary Arts. Here's to the balance of the day going well, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.